A good day to you, dear televiewers, and thanks for joining us on yet another edition of Inside Africa on your Pan-African TV, AFRIQUE Media. We take a start today from Kenya. Kenya's security has been ranked amongst the worst in Africa, according to the latest Ibrahim Index of African Governance Report. Coming right after the recent Westgate attack, Kenya is bottom place in personal security for its citizens and its visitors.
The report has grouped Kenya with failed nations like Somalia and others facing intense security situations at the bottom of the rankings. Kenya is placed at position 42 out of 52 African nations. Security of citizens and tourists visiting the country are two major highlights of the report, with instability in neighboring countries largely affecting homeland security. Kenya's involvement in Somalia conflict, including the deployment of forces in Somalia, has also contributed to poor security shown in the report. This coming as the country grapples with the recent Westgate terror attack. Zambia is the most internally secure nation. The report is released as the president makes a visit to the Laikipia airbase, where security matters were heavily discussed. President Uhuru Kenyatta, while addressing the issue of national security, said the country's security forces must neutralize all threats from terror groups.
I call upon the Kenya Defence Forces to raise the standard of their professionalism and intensify their role as a national example.
The President and Chief of Defense Forces reiterated that Kenya will continue to fight Al-Shabaab and no form of aggression will draw back its resolve to pull out troops from Somalia.
Away from that, but still in Kenya, Muslims in Kenya joined their counterparts around the world for Eid al-Adha, the Feast of Sacrifice. The day is marked at the end of Hajj, the annual pilgrimage to Mecca, a religious obligation undertaken by millions of Muslims every year. The report.
On the first morning of Eid al-Adha,
Allahu Akbar,
Muslims around the world attend morning prayers at the local mosque. And in different parts of the country, it was no different. Muslims make a special effort to pray and listen to a sermon at a mosque. Muslims make a special effort to pray and listen to sermon at a mosque. They also wear new clothes, visit family members and friends, and exchange gifts. However, Chief Qadi Sheikh Sharif Mundar announced that Eid al-Hajj celebration will be observed on Wednesday. Some Muslim leaders from all over the country are calling for an amendment of the law to allow for a common Eid date for all Muslim faithful. During the celebration of Eid al-Adha, Muslims commemorate and remember Prophet Ibrahim's trial by slaughtering animals such as sheep, camels, or goats. The meat from the sacrifice of Eid al-Adha is mostly given away to others. 1/3 is eaten by immediate family and relatives, 1/3 is given away to friends, and 1/3 is donated to the poor. Halima Gongo, NTV.
Now we take you to Rwanda. Rwanda Air becomes the second player this month to join the Juba route in a renewed rush by players to tap into South Sudan's aviation potential. This year has witnessed a rebirth of interest by the industry into Africa's newest state, which also attracts new entrants.
South Sudan, Africa's newest nation, has since its birth 2 years ago turned into a major market for business people from its neighboring states and beyond. It is this market that now the aviation industry appear committed to tap into. Just weeks after a new player, Southern Supreme, joined the Juba route, Rwanda has become the 6th player to rush in and take a portion of this growing market.
I would like to also express my government's appreciation for the open-mindedness with which the Southern Sudan authorities facilitated the takeoff of our operations into this young, beautiful, and endowed nation.
Beyond this business boom, however, the regional airline industry still faces numerous challenges that have seen major players like Kenya Airways perform below target, and new ones like Skyjet, Air One, and East African Airways closing shop.
I mean, if you've been following the aviation industry trend, you've seen more airlines get out of business and collapse. So it's a problem that everybody is facing that in this business. One, you have oil prices that are going through the roof. You have all these terrorist events that are happening around the world. They all impact the industry.
We take you to Somalia, where Belgian authorities have detained a suspected leading Somali pirate by name Mohammed Abdi Hassa, otherwise known as Big Mouth, and another accomplice after luring them to the country in a sting operation. The police had promised fame behind the camera in a documentary about their lives on the seas of the East African coast. Now they are behind bars.
Mohammed Abdi Hassan, better known by his nickname Big Mouth, was one of 2 men arrested by Belgian authorities at the airport on Saturday and hijacked boats at the height of the piracy epidemic off the Horn of Africa, before increased naval patrols greatly reduced the problem. He allegedly earned millions of dollars in ransom as the head of one of Somalia's most successful pirate gangs. Hassan quit piracy this year and reportedly received a diplomatic passport by the Somali government, after he agreed to persuade fellow pirates to stop raiding vessels. His arrest is therefore likely to cause tense diplomatic discussions between Somalia and Belgium, which has long been keen to pursue those who organised the hijacking of one of their ships.
News from Cameroon says the Cameroon National Gendarmerie Force will henceforth benefit from the assistance of the very first batch of Professional Intervention Unit. 33 sub-gendarme officials renewed their end-of-course attestation recently at the Law Enforcement Technique Training Center in the outskirts of Yaoundé. Marie Goretti reports.
These 33 sub-gendarme officers for the past 2 months have been trained to intervene in difficult terrains, no matter the situation. During the period of training, the officers receive private skills lessons on law enforcement techniques that will help them to operate on difficult terrains.
For 2 months here, we had a special course to take us like protection of personalities, training in under stress. In fact, we have multiple things like the menage, the way we do shooting here is not like the ordinary way we do shooting in our courses.
These law enforcement officers, who were rather confident, acknowledged that it is their duty to assist the entire security force in Cameroon and even abroad.
Today we have other countries like countries that are having problems like internal crisis. Because of that, their military is a bit weak. So they project some of us, because when they see the white man, they say the white man has come, like, to colonize them again. And when they see their brother Africans, black, they have to go there in countries that are having crisis to explain to them that we have come to rebuild their army. When they see their friend, their brothers, black in color, in fact, it's easier for them to accept us, accept the whites.
As the ceremony unfolded, the commander in charge of the International Academy of Security Forces, Brigadier General Amadiko Amadou, said he is convinced that the officers who are aware of the challenges ahead of them will make it. He also called on the professionals to be duty conscious. Being the very first batch of this kind, it is but wise to recall that these professionals will combat armed robbery and also ensure the safety of high-ranking personalities, to name a few.
Still in Cameroon, Muslim faithfuls around the globe have commemorated the trials and triumph of Prophet Ibrahim. In Yaoundé, celebrations took place in various mosques, with the central message being living in peace and harmony with one another. Frida Ekpe completes that story for Inside Africa.
Muslim faithfuls in Cameroon have joined their counterparts around the world to celebrate the Feast of the Sacrifice, known in Islam as the Feast of the Tabaski. Celebrated 70 days after the Feast of the Ramadan, The feast of the Tabaski is in the Muslim religion a symbol of the trials and triumphs of Prophet Ibrahim in his obedience to Allah's command to sacrifice his only son Ishmael. In Yaoundé, Muslims gathered in various mosques to worship Allah with serious take-home messages delivered by the imams.
The meaning of the message of this meeting today is just to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to worship Him. Worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala means that it can guide us to be in friendhood with our brothers, sisters, and neighbors. Together we are going to live together and to have an harmony together, and we have a good behaviors with us. And
as Muslims celebrate, this day symbolizes something very special to each faithful.
It's a rite that have been founded by Abraham alayhi salam. Abraham is the father of Ismail and father of Isaac himself. And Abraham once day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have asked him to sacrifice his son Ismail. And later on, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have sent the sheep that he has sacrificed on place of Ismail. So from that day, others prophets like Muhammad have celebrated the hymn worshiping. And now we are celebrating the same thing. And beside this great goals, we have small goals. We have small goals like be a good being with the family and the friends and sisters and the neighbors together.
This feast for the Muslim is a period when faithfuls of Allah sacrifices a spotless, perfect and apt animal, which is usually a sheep or might be a cow depending on the financial situation of the household. After worshipping in various mosques, faithfuls have merrymaking with family members and friends, where food and drinks are shared in communality.
In Libya, Abu Anas al-Libi has appeared in a civilian court in New York, suspected of helping Al-Qaeda carry out attacks in Africa. He was captured in Libya earlier this month by U.S. commandos.
Abu Anas al-Libi pleaded not guilty to charges that he conspired to kill and maim U.S. citizens. He looked older, grayer, and frailer in the courtroom than in the photographs circulated by U.S. authorities after he was named as a suspect in the 1998 bombings of 2 U.S. embassies in Africa. According to court papers filed in 2000, al-Libi provided surveillance of the Nairobi embassy for al-Qaeda. He was one of 21 suspects named in the attack, which killed more than 200 people. But it's what al-Libi knows about al-Qaeda's current operations that government officials are most interested in. After the U.S. military took him into custody on the streets of Tripoli on October 5th, al-Libi spent 10 days aboard a naval ship at sea, where he was questioned without an attorney present. That drew complaints from the Federal Defender's Office appointed to represent him.
In Ghana, animal sales in the nation's cattle markets depend on their colors. Cattle vendors claim that a white cow, ram or goat can not only be used for food but also for sacrifice, hence the high prices.
In Accra, and it's always bustling with activity. However, this noisy atmosphere was absent when I went to the market on Sunday, 13th October. My mission was to find out how those who sell goats, sheep and cattle are preparing to meet the needs of customers, especially during the Muslim festival Eid Adha. Eid is one of the biggest festivals on the calendar of Muslims because it is believed to be the time that Abraham decided to sacrifice his son, but there was a divine intervention that saw a sheep being released for the sacrifice instead of the human being. So during this festive occasion, the demand for animals such as goats, sheep and cow increases. Prices of the animals have shot up significantly, with most of the traders blaming it on the depreciation of the cedi against the CFA. The traders say there are not enough sheep or cows in Ghana and are therefore compelled to go to Burkina Faso to bring in the ruminant. Shobila Achampon has been trading in sheep and cattle for 25 years now. He said transporting a cow or a bull from Burkina Faso to Accra cost 120 Ghana cedis each, and the journey usually takes 2 days, hence the high prices.
So this time no, the chef and I share Gimano. Chef no cost for too much.
Gabonamwa deals in sheep since 1981 and said the Eid festival is now in view, but sales is yet to pick up.
We say, when is 7 million. It was so we 4 million. 4 million DNA.
There was no woman involved in this business, but the young boys were deeply engaged. Among the duties assigned to them is to look for grass, to feed the animals as well as wash them. But these jobs are not for free, and the boys are able to earn about 1 Ghana cedi each for getting the grass for the animals and about 2 cedis for washing the sheep. The washing of the sheep is crucial in this business because depending upon the color of the sheep, the price will go up or down. Echampo said the demand for black sheep or bull is lower compared with the white ones.
Tuntumno, I know they give 15. Anna, way, maybe I know should get, maybe I know should get 25 million. Kaya white quality and can impression back cancer. And way saying Kaya white ya, coming fancy and commit my turn by 25 and 30.
He explained that not many customers are aware of the color factor in pricing the animals, but it is crucial because white sheep or cow are best suited for any religious sacrifices. The explanation given by Champon was supported by some of the people who have come to buy sheep.
When the animal looks like the same color as white, full white color, the price is higher than the one which the price is, the color is mixed.
Because we are making sacrifice to Allah, you have to prefer the best for God. So we prefer the white color to get a best reward from Allah. That's why.
The Food and Agriculture Organization says between 2001 and 2010, the average live animal production of sheep in Ghana increased from 2.7 million in 2001 to 3.7 million in 2010, while that of cattle moved from 1.3 million to 3.4 million. The 3 northern regions of Ghana account for about 75% of all sheep and cattle produced in Ghana. In terms of GDP contribution, livestock account for about 0.1% in 2010, while that of Burkina Faso is 12%. And in Burkina Faso, livestock is the second largest export earner for the country after cotton.
After about 2 weeks, Ghanaians are yet to come to terms with the new utility tariff formed by the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission. The announcement says consumers will now pay 79% more for electricity and another 52% more for water.
Households might choose to limit the quantity of water they use or regulate which electric appliances should be used and at what time. But businesses that depend mainly on water or electricity for their survival at a time like this have fewer options. They either shut down or make their customers pay higher rates. This printing press in Accra in August paid about $47 for electricity. This was higher than the amount paid for previous months. It increased rates by about 15%, but is paying dearly for it.
At first, we charge 8 cedis, but now it's 9 cedis. Whoever brings in a job will want to make profit, and so we go elsewhere where they can get cheaper service. If you are lucky, you will get the job. You can't even get a loan from your employer.
Electricity tariffs are up by 78.9%, including taxes. This comes to 150%. Kwame says the company will have to absorb the cost or risk losing customers. The Public Utilities Regulatory Commission says this is the best it could do under the current circumstances.
Their prices are contractual and it is higher. It is not the tariff that we give to ECG via Gridco, because they are businessmen. They have to look at their rate of return. They have to look at servicing their loans and all that. Then you cannot regulate their tariff that much, even though you regulate their activities through because they are selling to ECG and it is coming to us domestic consumers.
The cost of light crude oil is 70% higher than that of gas, hence the increased cost of electricity generation in the country. At a point, the country has had to depend on independent power producers. On October 8, Organized Labor held a press conference and gave the government and the Utilities Regulatory Commission a 10-day ultimatum to reduce the tariffs or face a nationwide strike. The Commission says there are only two options: to reduce the tariffs and revert to a load-shedding exercise to ration power, or maintain the tariffs and get better services. Government still subsidizes electricity for more than 1 million customers of the Electricity Company of Ghana. There's an annual rise in electricity requirement of between 7 and 10%. Meanwhile, in a recent speech given by President John Mahama, he said because of the 8-month-long election petition case, investors were waiting and donor partners held back, and that led to the slowing of the economy. Low-income earners like Kwame and Bida and businesses like theirs say they will be looking for alternative means of survival.
And now with South Africa, the Deputy President Gale Mahmoud Silante seems to be losing patience with the slow pace of transformation in the mining industry. Meanwhile, a court has ruled that the state should pay the legal fees for the survival of last year's Marikana mine mass shootings.
He laments the poor condition of mine workers in the country. According to him, mine workers continue to risk their lives toiling underground for meager wages, despite the changes made to the discriminatory laws that enabled mine bosses to make super profits from the super exploited. Motlanthe was addressing delegates at the Benchmarks Foundation conference in Kempton Park, which was to debate whether mining had any negative social, economic and environmental consequences. In August 2012, police killed 34 striking miners at the Lonmin-owned mine, and the question of who should fund legal representation for 270 miners has delayed the inquiry into the shooting. The government's refusal to pay for lawyers for the surviving mine workers led to demonstrations in Pretoria in September. President Jacob Zuma set up a judicial commission to investigate the killings, which, while not yet concluded, has already found that police lied about the shootings.
And that report brings us to the end of this edition of Inside Africa. We hope you got informed. Take another rendezvous tomorrow, but until then, stay tuned to AFRIQUE Media for more information. Have a nice day.